Everybody, Wade and Ryan, another NFL in London podcast, getting into week 5. Who would have thought, man? We're just busting through the season already.
Oh, no.
First London game. We had the first game in Ireland last week. But let's talk first about the Niners and Rams. Niners put up a fight in this one, but, it's sort of typical of the NFL. You got blocked kicks, you got a lot of injuries, you had so much. But the Niners really, 2-3-1 teams. This one really came out hungry. You look at Mac Jones, he was slinging it.
He was.
But they get the win. And the Rams, tough, but just couldn't put it away at home.
I mean, how much do you think every Niners fan is like, God damn it, we're paying Purdy $50 million to do exactly what Mac Jones is doing? Mac Jones is awesome. Also, Matt Stafford was incredible at the same time. This is like an absolute battle. Considering, Mac Jones had no one to pass to, his was more impressive. But a few things that really popped out is, number one, how good Sean McVay is at getting guys open, getting Puka Nacua, who's on pace to destroy all the records this year. But then when it comes to 4th and 1 at the end of the game, you just do the most basic Madden call of all time, the HB dive into the pile. And it's you're Sean McVay, the ultimate play caller. You did that little 2-yard pass, 1-yard pass to Puka Nacua on the 1 that got him a touchdown. Move him in motion. Yeah. You have so many options. Matt Stafford was playing incredible. Kyren Williams, got punched in the face and fumbled just before that.
Yeah.
And then you give it to him on the worst running play call of all. It was I was shocked that how every time Sean McVay's the genius gets in a time where you need one of these genius calls, he calls the most basic bitch play of all time, what an idiot would call in Madden if they were at 3rd and 1. Speed dive up the middle, that'll get it, and you just stuff everyone in the middle, and it just to me it was just again that fumble that Kyren Williams, that was unfortunate. He literally just got Mike Tyson to the face and fumbled. That should have been a penalty, in all hindsight. But to me, the story is just Mac Jones. Mac Jones is awesome. This again, Kendrick Bourne, 10 for 142.
Yeah.
Absolutely ripping it. And this is just what Kyle Shanahan does. Give him any quarterback, he'll rehabilitate you. Now Mac Jones has got another career. I think Mac Jones is going to get some interest. They could trade him. What do they do? It's going to be a little bit fascinating to see if Mac Jones continues to play like this. I just don't see how he can stay the starter because you paid Purdy. You can't have a $50 million backup. So.
Yeah, no, you can't give that guy that kind of money, and particularly he's slotting into the system. Obviously, we'll see how he does. But that kind of system we said before with Shanahan, that, they set it up so, for anyone to be successful. And they get that win, which is very important. But it was a great game, and obviously we get another one to overtime, which can be a bit frustrating, but, it's also seems to be more of that. It just seems to be more of a up and down in the NFL. And, of course, injuries play a big toll in it. We'll get into the week 5 games. It is our first game in London. It is possibly one of the worst games of the week. It is the lowest over-under of the London series.
Maybe.
It's a 36-point over-under in this one. Minnesota 2-2 coming into Cleveland 1-3, 3.5-point favorites. I've been, through a lot of our NFL in London forums. Lots of tickets seems to be available for this game. 36 points over under. We know traditionally sometimes these games can be low scoring affairs in London. A lot of people don't want to get hurt. Maybe they got mugged the week before, or maybe they're out meeting a girl in Essex that they've just met at the bar. But this game, not a lot of interest in it except for the Vikings fans. Cleveland obviously could use a win. Dylan Gabriel coming into this one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we'll see. What are your thoughts on this game?
I think that kind of makes it interesting. The fact that Dylan Gabriel, to be fair, I think Cleveland's going to win this game, to be honest with you. I think with the injuries that Minnesota has to their offensive line, they've almost maybe 4 of their starters are out. They're going into backups, triple. To me, this is just, and going against that Cleveland defense, the strongest in the league. Minnesota's not going to be able to run it. I really like the Jordan Mason under 68.5 this week. I think again, the Browns are averaging 2.9 a carry defense running. So Jordan Mason, again, he's good. He's not Saquon. He's not, James Cook or these other Jonathan Taylor. So to me, the idea that with most of your offensive line out, going against the best rushing defense in the NFL. You're gonna have to
Yeah.
put it in Carson Wentz's hands, and I think Myles Garrett's gonna have a feast. He maybe multiple sack game. I think Gabriel's going to be able to run it with Judkins. I think they've got something with this guy. It kind of relieves a bit of the pressure that goes on Gabriel having to like kind of win it himself. It's not going to be like with Joe Flacco throwing it 50 times a game. I think they're going to really try and slow down the game, run it with Judkins, short little passes, keep the ball moving. I don't think it's going to be a completely different team. And I think it's going to work. I just think Minnesota, with the injuries to the offensive line, they're not going to be able to move it. This is going to be like a 17-13. I'm going to go 17-13 Browns win. I think it's going to be ugly. And I think the fact that, I just have no faith that Carson Wentz is going to be able to pick apart a defense that beat Cleveland, that's given teams a hard time. They're no joke. And now they're finally, instead of going up against an offensive juggernaut, they're playing someone kind of down to their level in the dirt, in the mud. So this is a classic Cleveland win for me. I'm going 17-13 Browns.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, there's just so much when you talk about the ugly game and just, how England's just getting over this whole storm that you had, all that crap that's been going on. I just don't like this game in terms of, you say, low score. It's just going to be a defensive minded kind of game. It comes down to coaching. No one really wants to get hurt. They want to play this game and get back. I'm with you. I've got it 18-13, but I got it for Minnesota. I just think they're a better coach team. And, Wentz is going to be able to step up there. Dylan Gabriel, it's his first game and he's playing in London. This is going to be an interesting thing. I will look at him in terms of, I haven't checked out what his rushing yards are yet, but I'm assuming just because of that offensive line, he's going to have some time to scramble. So I might look at him doing some rushing over under in that one. But I got Minnesota to win this one 18-13. It's just going to be low scoring, but I think the best thing is, like a lot of the London games, are the fans. And I think everyone's going to have a good time there. And that's all that, when we've gone to a lot of the games, we just enjoy the camaraderie of everyone and the overpriced beers. Let's move in. We've got a lot of
to
1
be
o'clock.
fair, compared to the pubs nowadays, it's actually quite even. The way pubs are
Is it?
charging you in right now. So you can actually go into the stadium and get a cheaper beer sometimes, to be honest with you. That's how bad it's
Well,
gotten.
that stadium, I mean, that's what that stadium sort of seems to be purpose built for, is to everyone to party there. Because, well, we know last year around going to the Bears game that there's not so many pubs around Tottenham. And we have been telling people to go to the
Well,
Nordic bar because it's you got the Vikings. So you might as well go to a Nordic team bar after that.
so
Let's move
to
in
be
because the one.
fair, so wait, before you go, I looked up. I've always like living over here looked up like how much tickets are before. This is the lowest I've ever seen, and you can still get tickets to the Cleveland
Yeah.
game for £86 now.
Wow.
£86, which actually to me is the cheapest I've ever seen it. To be honest with you, over the
Yeah.
years for a game.
I
Who'd
bet
have
you,
think
too, that if you.
ripping people off would get them angry? They don't buy tickets.
Yeah, I mean, I would also suggest too, and it's the thing I used to do with NFL games or even baseball games. You wait until the game started, and I bet you because there's lots of scalpers around that stadium. You get in 10 minutes into the game, I'm sure you can get tickets for under 50. Pretty good tickets for under 50.
They're called ticket
Um,
touts over here, by the way.
ticket touts. We don't want to call them
Touts.
scalpers because that's appropriation.
That's
So
offensive.
the 1 o'clock games that we have, there's a lot of really bad games. There's a lot of buys too. And if you've got fantasy, not a good week for me in my fantasy because there's a lot of guys that are off, a lot of guys that are injured, and everyone's starting to go through going, who's this guy? How many points is he going to get
Yeah,
this
I
week?
know.
Let's enter the battle of
It
two
is like
1-3 teams, both in the South, the dirty South. You got Miami, who's 1-3, losing Tyreek Hill last week. They're 1-point favorites over a Carolina team who's also 1-3. Carolina got their big win over Atlanta, the blowout, but they've also been blown out from there. Carolina also 1-3, 44.5 points is the over/under. It's in Carolina, and maybe Carolina and the Panthers could be feeling good about this one because this is a depleted team. This is a team that sort of gave it all. It's all Miami beating the Jets in an ugly game, but this might be a winnable game for them. What do you think about Carolina's chances at home with Miami?
It's interesting because I'm kind of fascinated to see how Tua's going to play without Tyreek. I think Tyreek in the last year has just been obviously he's not happy. He wants to go. He wants to leave. He doesn't think they're going anywhere. And I think like when when you have that with the receiver, it really affects. And I think the fact that this might just kind of free Tua to just kind of distribute the ball the way he likes it. So like one of the bets I really like this week is Malik Washington. I think he's the number 2 receiver thing is now moving up to the number two receiver across from Waddle. His is like 30.5, his receiving yards. So I really like that because I think Tua is the type of guy that he's not going to force feed you. He's just going to hit the open guy. So Waller, we
Yeah.
saw that with Waller last week. I mean,
Waller the baller.
I
Yeah.
just don't know what to. Yeah, to me, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins to win. I just don't know what to think about the Panthers. Every time they have a good game, then they stink the next week. You know, they got absolutely
Yeah.
destroyed by New England. But now, like so now they've been destroyed, and they're gonna have a good game against Miami. I just think these two teams are a bit of a mess, but I just think the losing of Tyreek isn't going to affect Miami as much as we think, because Tyreek's kind of hasn't been dominant in over almost 2 years, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of frees the Dolphins to be up a little loose. They kind of got the pressure. They got their first win last week. So I'm going to go Dolphins win 27-24. Nice little close one though.
A lot of points in that one. I don't know. I think this is Carolina's. They played well in that game against the Falcons. Maybe the Falcons just played like idiots, but I kind of like Carolina at home in this one. I really think they can get it going. I don't know if Chuba. They said that he might be injured in this one. I'm
He's
not
out.
sure,
He's out.
but
He's out.
he is out. Yeah. So I mean, that's going to
He's
hurt
out.
their running game. But I just like Carolina at home. I think they're going to be plucky in this one. I think Miami's still looking for their own direction, just trying to find out how they actually piece this together. So I've actually got Carolina to win this one 24-21. Little home upset, get the fans going. But I don't know if it's going to be one of those red zone games. You're like, meh, I don't know about this one. Let's head into where the Jets are 4, and they're facing a Dallas team who was 1-2-1. Dak Prescott was absolutely balling against the Packers last week, looking great. This is a Jets team at home where we know ACLs are getting chewed up without
God.
any stopping them. Dallas is 1.5-point favorites. 47.5 is the over under in this one. Dallas obviously 1-2-1, want to get a win. And Justin Fields has put up some numbers, and that defense is not bad. It's going to be the secondary is quite tough in this one. Do the Jets have any chance at home to beat a Dallas team that came off of the tie last week?
I mean, I want to pick the Jets. I really do. I feel like this could be one of those games where they kind of sneak up on you. They've been, it's somewhat competitive. It's outside the Buffalo game. Been in a lot of close games, but I just think Cowboys just have more firepower. I think, even if it's Pickens, I think, Javonte Williams has been good. Dak's playing some of the best football he has. And to me, it's just a talent advantage that I still think goes in the Cowboys' direction. If I'm going to choose between Dak and Fields, who am I going to go with? The Jets beat the Cowboys a couple of years ago, might have even been last year, like a big upset game that no one kind of saw coming. And I think the Cowboys kind of want to keep that momentum going. I think they're just the better team. I think the Jets are a mess. I don't know what they're good at. I'd like to see, now like Brees Hall, you could maybe pick him, with some bets to kind of go over. I kind of like that. I think now that Braylon Allen's out for the year, kind of it's Brees Hall's backfield now
Yeah.
for him. So he's going to get the volume, he's going to get the touches. No one else is really going to kind of supplant him. So to me, I think it'll be close though. I definitely think the Jets, again, they'll find a way to lose in the end, the Jets will. So I'm going to go 23-20 Dallas. Dallas wins.
I actually like Jets to win their first game here.
Yeah, I was thinking
think
about
there's only so much that head coach can yell, and you could hear him through the walls, and they came close in a lot of ways, and I think that Miami game, they shot themselves in the foot. There's a lot of injuries on Dallas. That offensive line is quite ripped apart, so I can see them having a little bit more pressure, more so than Green Bay, and especially that secondary. And again, you talk about the running game. You talk about maybe Sauce Gardner shutting down. I think that was an emotional tie for Dallas, and this one will be a game that maybe they don't really think that much about, but the Jets will, because going 0-5, it's between them and New Orleans as to and the Titans, who's the stinkiest team. So I'm going to go with the Jets with an upset in this one. I've got them to win 26-23, little bit of an upset, a lot of field goals and back and forth in this one. Head into Indianapolis, who took a tough loss last week to the Rams. They're 3-1. They're 7-point favorites over a Las Vegas team whose offensive line continues to get worse. While Genti had a good running game against the Bears last week, he's also getting shut down a lot in the backfield, and I can see that happening again today. Vegas is on Sunday. Vegas 1-3, Indianapolis 3-1, 7-point favorites, 48 points over under. Colts and Jonathan Taylor could pretty much get this done by just with him. How is Vegas going to stop them, or can they even stop a Colts team, which is looking really good this year, defense and offense?
Yeah, I mean, was 7.5? Is that what you said?
7. I think
Seven
the
and
point the spread
Seven,
I saw
seven.
was 7. It
Seven
could be.
just
Yeah,
feels,
yeah.
I think seven feels too much. I feel like this is going to be a Geno bounce back game. He's been really bad this year. He's thrown a lot of picks. I feel like he needs to kind of have this kind of solid game. I think Genty, if he can stack games, he's got the momentum from that last game. You can run on the Colts. The Colts are a team that will give up points. They'll give up. I think this could end up being a little bit of a shootout, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I think to me, the Colts, I think again, Jonathan Taylor's been the best running back in the league this year, and I think you just kind of lean on him. To me, he's got one bet I like is also Jonathan Taylor. It's like over 15.5 reception yards. I think is
Yeah.
really good because it's cleared that in every single game. So it feels like to me, there's no one out against the Raiders. At home, they're going to want to get him involved. I think the Colts are the better team. I think the Raiders keep it close. The Raiders almost beat the Bears last week. So the Raiders have had these
Yeah.
games where, they've been in it. They haven't really been embarrassed, even when Geno's turned the ball over as much as he has. I think if they can get the running game going, Brock Bowers is still kind of nursing something, but the receivers have been competent, much more competent than I thought. So I think this game is going to be a shootout. I'm going 30-27 for the Colts.
Well, I've got 30 points for the Colts, but I do not have that. I just can't see Vegas staying competitive because they've got injuries and that offensive line sucks. And, the Colts have a really good defense, a fast defense. Jonathan Taylor, I think, is going to establish it. They'll get once Indianapolis gets the lead, it's going to be up to, Vegas to try to catch up. And I don't think they will. He makes too many mistakes. And there's not a lot of guys that are really going to open it up for him, so I don't know. I just I think after the Colts took that emotional loss last week to the Rams, they knew that they could have had that ball if Idiot had not have committed two penalties, well, committed one
Yeah,
penalty and then dropping that ball in the end zone. That was their game. So I think the discipline will be back.
I'm
What's that?
still wondering about the Colts. Like, are they as good as they are? Like, there's one you see. Is this all like a mirage with Daniel Jones? I'm fascinated to watch. I'm actually more interested in this game. This is actually kind of a crappy week of games. I'm more interested in this
Yeah,
game
no, it's
than
very
maybe
much.
any of them. Definitely gonna keep
Yeah,
my eye on this game. I think there's a lot of opportunities for points and yards. It's good. I think this will be one of the more fun games of the week.
I agree with you on this one. That's why I've got the Colts to win. 30-16. I can see them getting angry. They know that they're a good team. They're going to play with emotion, and I can see them winning it. We go into one of our two 4-0 teams, and that's Philadelphia, who's at home. They're 4-point favorites over a Denver team who is sort of struggling. Notoriously slow starters and Sean Payton. Denver's 2-2. 43.5 points is the over-under. Philly has not looked demonstrative, but they've gotten the wins. And they get them just by playing a bit of plucky football. That defense is still there. Of course, there's always a Denver defense as well. Philly at home. Can Denver upset this 4 points?
You know what? I'm going to take the Broncos to win this. I'm going with a little upset for a couple of reasons. I think the Eagles' offense has just struggled across the board. They can't get it going against like mediocre defenses. AJ Brown can't get the ball. I think what was it last game? Jalen Hurts didn't have a completion in the second half. Like it
Yeah,
was just been a mess. Saquon's doing nothing, and these are against kind of average defenses. Now you're going up against the Broncos, a little bit of a desperate team. They kind of need to kind of have that first kind of signature win they're still looking for. Even though they could have, they should have beaten the Colts, but they lost. So to me, the Eagles are just kind of, and they're Chiefsing their way to victory, like the
hmm,
Chiefs did last year, where it's just like there's a block punt here or the most ridiculous play here and this and that, or they have to make this crazy comeback because they've done nothing for 3 quarters, and there's just no consistency in this Eagles team. I still think they're a good team, but I just think right now they're a bit of a mess, and there's something going on with Jalen Hurts and his receivers that they are not. Either they don't like each other. There's something is not right with
yeah.
AJ Brown, and I think AJ Brown's gonna find it tough. He's going up against Sertan this week, so like he's going up against literally the best defensive player of the year last year. And I think the Broncos really want to. Sean Payton's going to really get them. They need that signature win. They got to beat a team, and this is a way to show them, kind of get back into that AFC West conversation. Because the way the Chiefs are coming, and the Chargers could be flailing with their injuries, this is an opportunity for the
Yeah.
Broncos to kind of jump up. So I'm going with the Broncos. Big, big upset. 24-21.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. That this is, this is really big game for Denver because they go 2-3 and just sort of fluster themselves. But it's just to your point, the Eagles just find ways to win near the
Yeah.
end. So I've got the Eagles winning it, but I've got Denver covering it. I got it 24-23. I think it's going to be one of those things where it comes down to a last minute field goal that the Eagles just put that little clutch in the back pocket and they find a way to win, as they have been doing, because they still have a good team. You know, the Super Bowl champions. So, and Denver, it's just, I don't know, that in that crowd in Philadelphia, weather, just like it's going to be here, it's going to be a hot day too. I've got it 24-23. I think Denver keeps it close, but Philly gets the win. We head into possibly one of the worst records in football between both teams. The Giants are 1-3. They got a win though last week over the Chargers, and New Orleans almost covered against the Bills. They're 0-4. Kellen Moore is trying. You know, they've had some games where the New Orleans looks exciting. New Orleans 2-point favorites at home in this one, 42 points over under in it. Giants, Jackson Dart. Obviously, losing Malik Neighbors was big, but then there's other guys to get the ball around. There's Cam Scatabo. But, you know, could New Orleans get their first victory at home, or are the Giants going to find a way to get their second win?
Yeah, I like the Saints. I think they played really well against Buffalo for a bit. You know, they were able to kind of establish the run, and you can run against the Giants. So like this could be a game to kind of focus Kamara, because I think the Saints have the writing on the wall. I think kind of getting Kamara as focus, get him a couple good games so his trade value goes up a bit, because I think he's a guy who I definitely see getting moved at the deadline. Someone like the Chiefs maybe coming in for Kamara, I think would be amazing. It'd be unbelievable that, especially the way the Chiefs running game has been going. Like they
Mm-hmm.
desperately need to look into this. So to me, I think the Saints, Rattler has been okay, and I think but at least he still has Olave. He still has, Rashid Shaheed. He's still got, Alvin Kamara in the backfield. Where Jackson Dart lost his number one. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know who he's going to be throwing to. He's got no weapons. It's just going to be the Cam Scatterbo show, which I think will be a lot of fun. I think kind of like him to get a anytime touchdown. I think they're just going to kind of whenever they get inside the five, they're just going to put the old ram that hammer, like the bushwhackers, just put him in the headlock, just drive him into the crowd.
Yeah.
And that's he should do. That should be his celebration because he's a
Yeah.
bushwhacker in spirit. So, but I think again, I just think Jackson Dart's gonna on the road. It's gonna be tough. He had his kind of emotional first victory. And I think he kind of comes back to life. Maybe like throws a couple picks, a little ugly game, and the Saints kind of get their first win. I think 23-17 Saints.
It's just so hard to find the Saints to win. Again, there's injuries across both boards in this one. I think there's that motivation now with New York. I mean, there's some issues that they might actually have some injuries on their side and the defense as well. That defense can be fast, and you saw with the holes in the Chargers' offensive line just how quickly the Giants were able to penetrate it, even with several injuries. I don't know. I just think that New Orleans, to me, they almost sort of screw themselves up each time, and I could see them doing that again at home. I think the Giants, Wandell Robinson will have probably a big game, Scatabo as well, and I could see Jackson Dart running. I could also see his mom in the stands, which I do like to see his mom in the stands. So I'm going to go with the person that has the hottest mom, and that's Jackson Dart, and I've got them to win 24-20 for the Giants. And that's sometimes my
Yeah, you
betting thing
haven't
is how
seen Spencer Rattler's mom, have you?
I have not. So, but I've only seen this one. So you're right.
Well, you
I
might.
should Google
Like,
this.
I don't know, but
I
you
might be
could
very
regret it.
pleasantly surprised. But your
Yeah.
mama. Anyway, 24-20. I've got that. The last of the 1 o'clock games. Man, who would have thought these two teams are 1-3? Houston 1-3, 1.5 point favorites over a Baltimore team who has lost everybody. Like this is just crazy how many injuries that this team has. Baltimore 1-3 as well, but the Texans are favored by 1.5, 40.5. Not a lot of people think there's going to be points scored in this one. Baltimore at home, it's going to be very difficult to see what they can motivate themselves here, but they obviously do not want to go to 1-4. But can they stop it after Houston put a demonstrative win over Tennessee last week? Is Baltimore got any chance, or do you think Houston can capitalize on this one?
It's just that it's such a bad matchup. If you're going in with a backup quarterback and you need to get Derrick Henry going and you're going up against Houston, one of the best defenses in the league. So to me, if it was like, if the Ravens were playing the Bengals this week and it was Cooper Rush,
Yeah,
I might even say, well, I'll go with them if they'll pull it together. But I think the Texans, coming off a big win last week, 26-0, I know it was against Tennessee, but
yeah.
it, but still, I think Stroud kind of needs to kind of get things going. It's going to be interesting to see with Marks and Chubb how it gets kind of distributed. But with the Ravens' injuries on defense, I'm not really confident that, CJ Stroud could really, you know, put up like 30 on them or so like every other team is doing. I just don't think he has the weapons. I think Texans win. I think it's going to be 2017. I don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game because I don't think the Texans have the offense to do it. And I think the Ravens at home will at least prove this a bit difficulty, but I think there's just too many injuries. And I'm sorry, I'm just Cooper Rush. Who's he throwing it?
Yeah.
Cooper. Yeah, I have faith in
Zay
Lamar at
Flowers.
quarterback, but I just
Yeah.
have no. Yeah, Zay Flowers is good, but he's good because a lot of times Lamar's running around like crazy, and Zay Flowers is able to get wide open. To me, Cooper Rush. I've seen Cooper Rush games to know what I'm seeing. Cooper Rush against a defense like the Texans. I'm going with the Texans every time. 2017 for the Texans.
Yeah, it's going to be more like bum rush because he's going to be bum rush the whole time, I think, by that
Mhm.
Houston defense. So I've got Houston win this as well, 21-18. I don't see too many points being scored in this one. Could be field goals. I mean, trying to get that running game going. And I mean, if Houston can shut that down, you're literally just going to have to do dump offs to Mark Andrews, 5-7 yards every time, just trying to find him open. Steady hands, but it's still not enough to get those first downs. Let's head into our 4 o'clock slate of games. And 9 o'clock in England. Tennessee are 0-4, and they're heading into Arizona, where the Cardinals are 2-2, 7.5 point favorites in this one. Cardinals seem to beat up on the crappy teams. 7.5 point favorites. 41 is the over/under. Benson, I believe, is injured, so it doesn't look like they're going to have as much of a running game as they thought. But is this an easy victory for Arizona, or do you think Tennessee can finally
No,
show some signs of life?
I don't think Arizona is allowed to have an easy victory. I don't think they're a good football team. I don't think Kyler Murray's good. They can't run it. They can't get Marvin Harrison the ball. Trey McBride will get his catches, but he never scores touchdowns. The Titans have just been an embarrassment, unfortunately. Like I would still be if the Titans showed any life in any of the previous games, I bet the Titans to beat Arizona
Yeah.
because I think there's this chance for because the Cardinals are not a good team. They're going to be probably what they'll end up winning this and be what 3-2, and
Hmm.
it'll be fine. But I just don't think they're a good team. I think the Titans are just an atrocious team that have bad coaching, bad offensive weapons, no running game, no receivers. So at least the Cardinals, they got to find a way to get Marvin Harrison involved. They're at home, kind of get some kind of hope with because they need to get him kind of taking over, being like Malik Neighbors was, and like these second-year receivers. So I kind of like him having a big game, but I've been birds betting on Marvin Harrison before, but I think the Titans are that bad. So I am going to go Cardinals 27-17 against the Titans. Even though I would like to pick the Titans to cover, I just can't. They're just bad. I just can't do it.
Yeah, there's no signs of life in that Titans team, and you sort of wonder how they're going to get the ball. You feel bad for Cam Ward again. Bad offensive line, bad defensive line, and Arizona's got some injuries. But again, Arizona at home, you got McBride. You've got at least some guys that can actually put some points up. So I'm with you. I've got it 27-13. I think Tennessee loses another one. I don't know if Tennessee can win any games this season. They could be an 0-17 season. Next game's pretty exciting. We
Could
got
be.
two 3-1 teams. Tampa Bay is 3-1. Again, injuries. Bucky Irving is out, and you got Mike Evans gone. Into a Seattle team who's also got a bit of injuries. Sam Darnold though 3-1. They're 1 point or 4 point favorites at home with a 44.5 point over/under. Seattle looking to establish themselves in this game with a depleted Tampa Bay team. Tampa Bay has been very stout against the run, however. Even if their secondary has given up some holes, it's Baker's determination that usually drives them. So, how do you like Seattle at home? Two teams, 3-1. Who's going to go 3-2, and who's going to go 4-1?
Tough one, right? Because Seattle, as good as they are, I just can't believe in them. I just find it really hard to believe in them. I'm going to go with the Bucks with a little bit of no one believes in us. I think the Seahawks are right now with their defense are the better team, but I think Baker's the better quarterback. I think Baker's still better than Darnold. I think Godwin's in his second game, so I could see him kind of taking over what Mike Evans lost. So I don't see their offense. Even Rashad White, he's before Bucky even took the job from him. Rashad White was a more than capable running back. So to me, Vita Vea is back, who can make life hell on Darnold. And all you really got to do with Seattle is just kind of take away Jackson Smith and Jigba, which is the hardest thing to do because their running game is like Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know who's going to get it. You don't know who's going to be
Yeah.
good or if they're going to be good at all. And I think everyone kind of just feeding that Seattle's going to win this. It's in Seattle, everything. But I think the Bucks kind of come in, make a little statement game, go 24-21, and I think Baker just kind of shows that he is in that kind of top tier quarterbacks that can kind of put a team on his back when no one kind of believes in him. So I like the Bucks a little bit of an upset here.
I'm gonna go with Seattle home just because of the Bucky Irving. I think there's a lot of injuries going on in that Bucks squad. Seattle relatively healthy aside for some of the running backs, but again, I think they'll shut that down. It's gonna be up to Sam Darnold to spread that ball around, and I don't know. I just like them at home. They've got the motivation. They've got the defense. They got a healthier squad. I find so. I've got Seattle to win this one, 28-26. But I've got Tampa Bay to cover that 4 points. But I think Seattle can win this one. It's going to be a tight game. And you know what? We all see Baker ball out in the fourth quarter, and I think that's going to happen as well. Detroit has been putting everyone on notice just by how demonstrative they've been playing, and they're 3-1. And Cincinnati is 2-2, but they've got nothing really. Detroit 10-point favorites, 49.5 is the over/under. Vegas saying, "Hey, I think Detroit's going to score a lot of points in this one." Cincinnati is just what are they playing for? They're trying to stay themselves, but I think 2 wins might be all they get this year until Joe Burrow comes back. Is Detroit just going to smoke the crap out of these guys? Do you think?
I mean, how could they not, right? Like this is the only thing is golf on the road on grass, but at least it's still kind of warm out. It's not cold. Just to me, this is just again, we've seen nothing from Browning. He hasn't been able to Chase Brown can't run. The offensive line, they can't move. Yeah. And you're going up against a Lions D with Hutchinson, that's going to make your life hell. I think you can throw it on the Lions. I think the Lions kind of their corners are they're kind of depleted in the secondary. So I kind of like Jamar Chase finally having a decent game, maybe scoring a touchdown. And I think the Bengals kind of keep it. What's the line again? Did you say
10.
10? I think the Bengals keep this within 10. I think the fact that they're at home, but to me, it's just too much firepower that you're not going to be able to keep
Uh,
up with. I'm gonna go 30-20 Lions. I'm gonna say they're gonna be right on 10
a little
because I
push.
just think yeah, I'm gonna go with a little push. I just think the Lions to me are just now. This is where you just kind of beat up on the bad teams. They're gonna try and beat up on the bad teams. I think the Bengals have played so bad recently that this is almost like Browning's last chance. If Browning stinks it up, like how do you not try and trade for somebody to kind of fix this? Because how can you keep putting this guy out there getting just destroyed every week? I know but he has played against some hard defenses, and I think this one will kind of he's going to have his best game of the season, and he's going to be able to kind of keep it close. But in the end, the Lions pull away because they're the better team with better players.
Yeah, I don't see any way Cincinnati can stop that run. Well, you got Gibbs and Montgomery. I can see them both lighting it up, maybe even 100 yards each. They're just going to feed it to them, and especially once you get the lead going, I don't see how they can keep up. Cincinnati's defense is kind of trash. Maybe if Detroit just lets the foot off the pedal a bit, but I see this all Detroit, and I can't see Cincinnati staying close in this one. I've got it 33-10. I think the Lions just beat the
Whoa.
crap out of them. They're going to put a lot of points on this one. I mean, the over/under is 49.5. I could see the Lions even getting more than that. I'm tempted to bet the over on this one, 50 points, but it would be mostly Detroit getting all of these points. But I don't see Cincinnati staying in this game whatsoever. Heading into the Chargers, who took that big loss last week, emotional loss to the Giants. Their offensive line was in tatters. Justin Herbert didn't have any time at all. Washington 2-2. It looks like Jaden Daniels will be back for this one. Chargers defense looking to put the clamps on them. Chargers 3-1. Washington 2-2. Chargers 3-point favorites. 47 points is the over/under. How do you think the Chargers at home? Are they going to rebound after this one, or do you think Jaden Daniels is being able to lead Washington to victory?
I don't know. Like they lost to the Giants last week, right? Like, and now you've lost Joe Alt,
Yeah.
you've lost Slater, and to me, it's just the home field advantage means nothing in for the Chargers, unfortunately. I am going to take them though. I feel like Jim Harbaugh. If this was like Brandon Staley, I would pick the Commanders to win this game. But I am going to go with Jim Harbaugh. I think coming off a bad loss like that, I think will kind of wake them up. They do have the better defense. They have questionably the better quarterback and they definitely have better weapons. But to me, like, what is Lad McConkey going to do? Is he ever going to show up? Are we
Yeah.
going to see him? Is Amir Hampton going to be able to run without Joel and Rashad Slater, against the
Yeah.
Commanders? So, and again, Jane Daniels is coming back up against a really tough defense without Terry McLaurin, or even if he plays, he's hobbled. So to me, I think the Chargers just kind of need this, especially with the way the Chiefs are playing. They're kind of right on their tail, kind of coming in the rearview mirror. The Commanders, to me, there's still too many questions I have with their running game. Debo. How long is Debo going to be able to take the hits and to kind of being
Yeah.
the focal point? Because that's not what they brought him in to be, and he's kind of having to do that. So I think the Chargers need this desperately. So I'm going to go 28-24 for the Chargers.
Yeah, I've got the Chargers to win this as well. I think, you had those offensive line issues last week. It was a bit of a stunner for them, and they didn't really know how to adjust. Now that you have these injuries, I think Harbaugh is going to make the adjustments, put the personnel in there, keep, Herbert healthy in terms of what they need to do. And, this was obviously an embarrassing loss to them last week. They couldn't get anything going. I think Hampton's going to have a great game. I think they can get the running game going. They can just keep feeding it to them, and Washington struggles against the run. I think they will continue to struggle against the run. So I've got the Chargers to win 26-20. I think it'll be an exciting game, but yeah, I do like the Chargers' chances here. Head into the night game. We're down to Buffalo, where the
Ooh,
weather
baby.
will be warm tomorrow. The weather in the area is supposed to be close to 30 degrees in this
Ooh.
area, but I think at night it'll still be in the low 20s. New England 2-2. These guys always play each other tough. Buffalo 4-0. Buffalo's had some defensive issues with some injuries going on. They're 8-point favorites with a 49-point over/under. You guys have always sort of worried about the bugaboo of the Patriots. Can Buffalo get it done though, and stave off Drake May, who's been playing some incredible football this year?
I mean, personally, I think 8 points is crazy. It's way too much. Like I would have said like 6.5. I think there's a few things. I think the fact that Drake May is playing really good football. He's playing. I think he's a really good quarterback. He has had a cupcake schedule. He lost to they lose to the Raiders in the first week of the season. That
Yeah.
they kind of should have beaten. They lost to Pittsburgh where they turned it over 5 times, and they've only kind of beaten Miami and Carolina. So it's not like it's been this they're showing up against whenever they play the big teams, they kind of fall on their face. So to me, this is Drake May on the road, prime time in Buffalo. I think it's just too much. I think Stephon Diggs they're going to want to kind of force feed him. So I think Buffalo is going to do what they can to kind of take him away. But to me, the biggest concern is with the Bills' running game, running defense, and if they can they've kind of like the way the Saints ran for 160 on them. So the Patriots
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of be in this game, keep it close. I think they're going to want to try to get the running game going. I think they'll be able to, with the Buffalo injuries. The Bills, I think Hunter Henry could have a good game. The Bills are down two of their three linebackers. So to me, that's going to just open it up for Henry, who's been their biggest option. I think this game comes down to a field goal right at the end. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if the Bills lost this in a devastating, just kind of overthinking it. But I think the fact that the big lights, Josh Allen plays is actually some of his best football in prime time, where I think a lot of quarterbacks don't, where they kind of and this is Drake May now. This is his chance to kind of on the big stage and I think he's going to play well, but I think it's going to be a bit too much for him. I think the Bills are the better team. I'm going to go 27-24 Buffalo. But I think James Cook continues to just kind of this offensive line of Buffalo is going to be able to do it, and they don't really have a number one, so it makes Christian Gonzalez's job kind of redundant because he's not taking away anybody because they don't really have
Yeah.
anybody that they throw to number one. So I think Josh Allen still kind of is the better quarterback, and they still take it.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I think 8 points is a lot. I still have Buffalo to win it, but I think, this is Buffalo sort of can keep looking ahead. You beat another division rival, you keep moving on. But I think New England's going to keep their fight in this one. They know that there's sort of a history between here, that they have a chance of getting their defense to sort of, shake up Josh Allen a bit. Try to get their running game going. As you say, Hunter Henry, I really like him to catch a lot of the balls because those two have been really connecting. He's always seems to find himself get open and get some. He's got the steady hands. So I've got New England to cover it, but I've got Buffalo to win 28-21. 7 points, but just within that 8 point margin. I think it's going to be an exciting game, though, and just hitting
Yeah,
the
I think it'd be a
49
good game.
4. Very exciting game. Let's hit into Monday game. Luckily, we don't have two Monday games. It's bye week because the first time for buys people. Bears are off this week, which is nice. A lot of teams are off. Kansas City really showed what they had last week. That was the resurgence game for Kansas City. They're 3.5-point favorites as they're visiting a Jacksonville team who's 3-1. Jacksonville defense playing okay. Trevor Lawrence gets it done, but who have they really beat? KC favored by 3.5, 45.5 points is the over under. Now the Chiefs seem to be firing up. They've got Worthy back. It seems like you got Rashee Rice coming back in week 7, I guess, and the team seems to be getting it going now. Jacksonville at home, are they going to be able to stop these Chiefs?
I mean, I just can't bet against Mahomes in prime time against Trevor Lawrence. Like, I'm just never going to do that. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has done, when Trevor Lawrence played on Monday night against Buffalo, they got just curb stomped like 47-10. He doesn't play his best
Yeah.
football at these moments, and his offense looks kind of again going up against a really good Chiefs defense that knows kind of how to take away things. The good thing is, I guess, for the Jags is their defense has also been playing really well. They're going to be able to kind of get some pressure on Mahomes, and I actually think they can keep it close. I don't. I think what's going to happen. We saw it in the playoffs a couple of years ago, where you know the Jags will make mistakes, where Trevor Lawrence will sail one, he'll get picked off, or Mahomes isn't going to make his mistakes. They're not going to be able to run it, but I think having Worthy back kind of opens things up for them, kind of gives them confidence, and I just think I think this will be the thing is like to me this will answer the question more, are the Chiefs back than last week
Yeah.
beating a Baltimore team that is literally just almost been bludgeoned to death by people. um to me this is a good kind of litmus test of where the Chiefs are, but I think the Chiefs are a better team, but I think it's 28-24. I think it's going to be a bit closer than people think.
Yeah, I've got the Chiefs winning this one. I think a bit more demonstrably. I've got it 30-20. I think it's high scoring. I think the Chiefs are able to get this ball going. Kelsey getting the ball going as well. Taylor's just released a new album and talked about him, so he'll be
A bit.
he'll be gloating on that one as well. Jacksonville just seems to, I don't know about their ability to score, and I think that Spags is going to throw everything he can at Trevor Lawrence, and I think it's going to confuse him. He doesn't like that kind of pressure. He doesn't thrive under the pressure and the starlight that Patrick Mahomes does. So I've got Casey to win this decisively, 30-20, and they just put this out of there. That's it, folks. This week we'll be having a party the 12th at the Nordic Bar in London after the
Ooh, baby.
Broncos and Jets game. Hope you guys can come by and see that. Space is limited, but if you got nothing to do, be fun to hang out. That's it for our picks for this week, folks. Enjoy the London game. Enjoy week 5 in the NFL. Good luck to everyone.